My Flicker Strike Monk has to be one of the best builds in the game. Check it out.
72 mil.
Song running on endless distance.
96 million. All right, watch out for the fist. Let's go, boys.
What's going on, guys? Today, I have the first update to my Flicker Strike Invoker, and I can easily say that this is the best build I've played in my 1,300 hours of playtime. We've managed to improve the power charge generation of the build by swapping to Cast on Critical, which won't require any form of elemental damage like Cast on Freeze. We've also juiced the damage massively. As you can see in the intro, I'm hitting as high as 100 million damage in one Flicker Strike. We've done this by making some tweaks to the gear, passive tree, and support gems, and I've also included a detailed explanation for every part of the build, so use the timestamps accordingly to help you understand and troubleshoot any problems that you may have. You can come watch me test these builds live at twitch.tv/FGCorbin21, and I've also included a written guide in the description. So with that out of the way, let's explain the build mechanics. So the most asked question was how I was generating so many charges as people were struggling to generate them. This was an oversight by me as I failed to emphasize just how important cold damage was with Cast on Freeze, so to mitigate this, we're going to swap to Cast on Critical. Now, this does require 30 extra spirit, but I've made modifications to accommodate. So Cast on Critical will generate energy whenever we critically hit. We'll throw Profane Ritual and Voltaic Mark into Cast on Critical, so it'll cast both Profane Ritual and Voltaic Mark for us whenever we crit enough. This is much easier energy generation as we're going to crit very frequently with the setup. Profane Ritual itself will consume corpses on the ground and convert them into power charges for us, so if you're not generating enough charges, then you may need to up your crit hit chance. My base crit hit chance in the tooltip is currently 40%, but I feel like anything around 35% will be just fine. Now, how do we flicker for so long? Flicker's amount of jumps or teleports it does is based on the amount of power charges you have on use, so the more charges you have, the more teleports you'll do. Now, what if your flicker isn't doing much damage when mapping? There's a few things it could be, but one of the most important things to do is to have Charge Staff active at all times. Charge Staff is going to provide extra damage to all of our quarterstaff attacks for well over a minute. As long as you have the max amount of charges before using Charge Staff, this will improve Flicker's performance and all of your other quarterstaff attacks performance. So how do we generate charges for Pinnacle bosses then? Well, we're going to use Sacrifice, which is going to allow us to use our manual Profane Ritual on our own minions provided by a Rattling Scepter. This will allow you to generate charges right before the boss fight, so you can use Charge Staff and Flicker during the fight. So how do I use two Profane Rituals? The game won't let me use another skill gem on Profane Ritual. Well, make sure you go to your options in game and turn off gem cutting restrictions, and this will allow you to create multiple copies of the same skill. Well, what's the point of Eye of Winter? Didn't they remove critical weakness from it? Yes, they did remove critical weakness from it, but they added a new unique focus called Effigy of Cruelty, and it allows spell critical hits to apply critical weakness. This allows our Flicker to have a guaranteed 100% critical hit chance when combined with Ambush. Is the War Cry really that important? Well, Infernal Cry is going to empower our next melee attack, which will give it 35% extra damage as fire damage per 5 power of enemies in range. Since bosses count as 20 power, that is 140% extra damage as fire damage. This plus premeditation, which gives us 15% more damage, and enraged Warcry, which will consume some of the rage that we generate to give us 30% more damage on top of that. This is what is super boosting our damage. So you understand how to generate charges when mapping and bossing, you understand how Flicker Strike and Charge Staff work, you understand how to apply critical weakness, and you get the point of the Warcry, but you still seem to be lacking damage. This is going to boil down to either 1, messing up the rotation more flickering, or 2, needing some gear improvements. I would start by checking out the bossing and Pinnacle bossing demo using the timestamps, and for your gear, I would use Path of Building to help calculate the best gear upgrades. You can always come by my stream and I'll help you get sorted out. So now that all these explanations are out of the way, let's get into the skill gems and support gem setups. So you're on the Monk, and I'm going to go ahead and break down the mapping set of skill gems as they are slightly different than the bossing as we do swap one skill gem out. We have consolidated our gems using a unset ring and a cast on crit, so there are less swaps than the previous version. So on our Skeletal Warriors, which we get from our Rattling Scepter and our offhands, we're going to rock Physical Mastery, as this will give us an extra level, which you can see 19, 18, which will increase the HP of our minions. We're going to rock Death March, as this will heal our minions and remove ailments from ones whenever, a nearby one dies. We're going to rock Last Gasp, as this will cause your minions to die 4 seconds after their HP reaches 0, which will preserve them for a little bit longer for you. So I'm rocking Unbound Avatar, and this is needed if you want to do like party play boss fights, like the big 75 to 100 million damage hits you see me doing. This is required to do that. Now, if you already have good enough gear and you think you can one flicker like a 30 million HP Zesht, you absolutely do not need to do this. You can use those Ascendancy points in something like I Am the Blizzard, or you could go with the Soul Springs the Turtle for more energy generation. But I'm going to rock it for the party play and for those big damage numbers, and I'm rocking Cold, Fire, and Lightning Mastery for the extra levels. For each level, it's going to increase the duration of our Unbound. I'm then rocking Ingenuity for the cooldown recovery rate increase. Our Flicker Strike is our main mapping skill that we're using whenever we have power charges. I'm going to rock Close Combat, as this will increase our damage. Overextend to increase our crit damage bonus. Concentrated Effect to increase our area damage. Ambush to double our crit hit chance on full life targets. We're at 40.37, so whenever this doubles, we'll be at 81% crit hit chance. And this is just base tooltip. This is not factoring in buffs that we'll have when mapping. And then I'm rocking Hit and Run, as this will increase our skill speed on Flicker Strike. You don't have to run this if you don't like the super fast flickers. I like the really fast teleporting, going super fast kind of thing. But if you need more damage, you could run like Primal or something here. But I love the extra skill speed that you get from this. Stormwave is what we're using to generate charges whenever we don't get them from Flicker Strike or our Profane Ritual. I'm going to rock Martial Tempo to increase the attack speed. I'm going to rock Upheaval, as this is going to give us 2 additional projectiles for extra clear. I'm going to rock Inspiration, as this does decrease the mana cost. I'm going to rock Mobility, so that way we move faster whenever we're using the skill. This is great for a convenience when mapping. And then I'm going to rock Innervate to give us a 35% damage increase and lightning damage for after we kill a shock target with this skill, which is very frequently, so this is almost always procced whenever we're mapping. Now, Charge Staff, this is a buff effect that we're using to amplify the damage of our Flicker and our Stormwave. We're going to rock Persistence, which is going to increase the duration of Charge Staff. We're going to rock Culling Strike, as this will cull rare or uniques. It will cull rares at 10% HP, and it will cull uniques at 5% HP. We're going to rock Blind, as this is going to be on all of our attacks, and this will allow all of our attacks to blind, which will decrease the accuracy of enemies that are attacking us. And since we have evasion, this should help us not get hit all that often. I'm rocking Perpetual Charge, as this will give us a chance to not consume our charges whenever we're using Charge Staff. And then I'm going to rock Defy, as whenever we are using Charge Staff, it's typically with Flicker or Stormwave, so we should be surrounded as we are dashing into big groups of enemies, which should make our Charge Staff damage go up thanks to the Lucky bit right here. Lucky things are rolled twice, and the better result is used, so it's an overall nice damage increase. Eye of Winter is being used to apply critical weakness on map bosses and really meaty rares whenever we're mapping. And all that you're going to do is to make sure is that it is on level 13 and to set it on weapon set 2. As we want Eye of Winter to only be used by our Effigy of Cruelty, which will apply the critical weakness. So absolutely make sure that you have this set to weapon set 2. And sorry for backtracking, but I would make sure that you have your Flicker set to weapon set 1. I should have checked that off. Okay, on Eye of Winter, we're going to rock Pinpoint Critical, as we are going to get more crit hit chance. Unleash, so that way it casts 2 extra Eye of Winters on that first use. Arcane Tempo to increase the cast speed. Inevitable Crit, so that way we have increased crit hit chance for that first cast. Now, our Manual Profane Ritual is being used as a last resort option whenever we need charges in a map, or we're going to use this right before we go into a boss fight. We're going to rock Corpse Conservation, as this does give us a chance to not consume the corpse that we use this on. Fast Forward, as this does decrease the duration of the ritual, which you want, because this will give you charges faster. You can see the duration is 1.4. Now the duration is 2 seconds, so this makes that ritual faster. And then I'm going to rock Hinder, as this skill does put down this purple ring on the ground, and anything that walks in that ring will be hindered, which will slow them by 30%. Now, our Cast on Critical, we have swapped to Cast on Crit instead of Cast on Freeze, as people did have problems generating energy with Cast on Freeze because they weren't getting enough cold damage on their stuff, and that is on me for not disclosing how important that was in the video. So to make this much more simpler, and this is a much overall better charge generating skill anyways, we're going to rock Cast on Critical since we are critting very often, and we're going to throw both Will Take Mark and Profane Ritual in here. Now this does increase the cooldown between these proccing, but it procs so often that it's really not that big of a deal. On Voltaic Mark, I do rock it at level 20 and I do quality it, and you want to be careful with the level on this, as the higher the level, the more mana cost. So maybe start at like level 16, and if your mana consumption's fine, you can bump this up. And the level is important because the higher the level, the bigger the lightning damage nova will be. Profane Ritual, make sure these are lower level. I have mine at level 9 and 10. You can go absolutely to the lowest level possible if you want to, because the lower the level, the less mana cost. The level on these do not affect anything related to the ritual itself. It just affects the chaos damage that it does on the ground. Now I'm rocking Profusion, as this will give us chances to gain additional charges. I'm rocking Overabundance, as the 50% less skill effect duration is going to take our ritual time from 1 second, and it would be 2 seconds without it. And then we're going to rock Impetus, as this will increase the amount of energy we gain on Cast on Crit, which will cause it to activate more often to give us more charges, and proc Voltaic Mark for extra clear. Herald of Thunder is added in here as an extra clear skill. I'm going to rock Primal Armament for the extra damage. Remember, you can move this to your Flicker Strike if you absolutely need to for extra damage. I'm rocking Magnified Effect to increase the area of effect of this. I'm rocking Reach to increase the area of effect, and don't worry about the accuracy penalty on this, as the chance to hit is 100% no matter what. And then I rock Deadly Herald because I do have the extra spirit right here to increase the damage of this. If you don't have enough spirit, feel free to run something else in this slot. Now, in this slot right here, this Spirit Gem slot, this one is like freedom of choice for the user. So we do have like an extra bit right here. So I'm running Mana Remnants to sustain my mana a ton. Now, you could absolutely run like Ghost Dance, you could run Blink, you could run Herald of Ice if you have enough cold damage on your gear. I'm going to run Mana Remnants to sustain my mana, but it's up to you to what you want to use here. Now, I'm going to run Dissipate because it is going to increase the effect of the remnants that are left behind, so it will give us even more mana, but they will disappear after 3 seconds, but if we're flickering and moving around, it shouldn't be a problem. And then Magnetism, as this will increase our gather range for them. Wind Dancer is our defensive gem right here. We're going to rock Pin, Maim, Wind Wave, and Clarity. Now, Pin and Maim will both activate whenever Gale Force activates, which is whenever we get hit. This will lock down enemies that hit us, allowing us to get away. Wind Wave will push those enemies even further back to help us get away. And I rock Clarity because I have enough spirit to give me a little bit of extra mana regeneration rate whenever I'm mapping. And then there is Sacrifice, and why this is important, and this is why I bought a Unset Ring, is because now we're able to, right before a boss fight, use Sacrifice. And I'm going to demonstrate that now. So what you're able to do is, if you swap to your second weapon set, by hitting your weapon set button, I've enabled it to where it's going to turn on Sacrifice. Now Sacrifice, make sure it's checked only for weapon set 2, and I have like my other ones, they're completely fine. I have turned my Cast on Crit on weapon set 1 only. This will make sure that we have enough spirits whenever we swap to the second weapon set, so that way we can use Sacrifice to use our Profane Ritual on our minions right before a boss fight. So if you're going into a map boss, now you'll be able to have the power charges that you need without having to like find corpses or kill enemies before walking in there. This is nice for whenever those map bosses have those really long startup animations and your power charge duration just isn't long enough. So just by swapping weapon sets, we're able to get our power charges, pop our charge staff, and then get them back, so that way we can, go in and we can Flicker Strike on a map boss. So that all you gotta do to do that, like I said, is set your Sacrifice to weapon set 2 only, and then come over here to the Cast on Crit, set this to weapon set 1 only. And that will make it to where whenever you swap your weapon sets, it will activate and deactivate the proper skills to allow you to get your power charges for map bosses. So yeah, that is it for the mapping setup. I'm gonna go ahead and show the bossing setup. Now I'm going to explain the bossing setup. Now the bossing setup is much simpler now. There's only one skill gem swap, but there are a few like support gem swaps, but it's much simpler, not nearly as much of a hassle anymore. So on Flicker Strike, I'm going to take off Hit and Run, as this does not benefit our damage on Pinnacle bosses. This only speeds up that Flicker. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this Herald of Thunder, and I'm going to take Primal and put it in Flicker. This will increase its damage to get us the biggest Flicker damage as possible on those Pinnacle bosses. I don't do this for map bosses. I only do this for Pinnacles. I do not need it for map bosses. I'll come down here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move Profusion and Overabundance into our Profane Ritual. This will allow our Profane Ritual to get charges faster and more effectively, and the duration of this ritual is less. This is just a pure quality of life thing for speeding up the process before you actually fight the boss. Now, what gem I have swapped out, the one that you do need to swap, is your one of your spirit gems. It could be either the Herald, the Wind Dancer, or the Mana Remnants, or whatever else you put here. I've chose to swap out the Mana Remnants. Any of these would do. What I'm doing is I'm putting on Infernal Cry, and we're going to rock Premeditation, as this will give us 15% more damage. I'm rocking Second Wind to give us 2 uses of the skill. Raging Cry to give us Rage per 5 power of enemies in Rage. Bosses do count for 20 power, so that's a total of 16 Rage per use, 32 total between the 2 uses. And then Enraged Warcry, which will consume 10 of our Rage, causing our attacks empowered to deal 30% more damage. So what will happen is you'll double Warcry. When you double Warcry, it will consume 10 Rage with Enraged Warcry and empower our attacks, which will leave us with a 140% damage boost here, 15% more damage boost here, 30% more damage boost here, and 22 leftover Rage for a total of another 22% more damage on top of everything else there. And that is it. That is the only swaps that you have to make for whenever you're going to do a boss. Now, if you absolutely wanted to, you could also swap on the Power Tread boots, but I'll get into that in the gear section right now. All right, so now for the gear. First, I want to tackle this optional swap. This optional swap that I do only for Pinnacle bosses is huge for increasing my DPS. This is mandatory for that 100 mil. I only swap this on whenever I'm there at the Pinnacle boss, ready to fight them. The Power Tread Hunting Shoes are going to give you an additional power charge, so an extra flicker hit, and an increased crit damage bonus per power charge. So super huge for getting way more damage out of your flicker. I only swap this on for Pinnacle bosses because it can only get up to a 15% move speed uncorrupted. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, I'm going to explain the weapon and weapon sets. So, Quarterstaff, the most important thing on your Quarterstaff is to make sure that you have plus level melee skill, and if you can get it, crit damage bonus. Crit hit chance isn't bad here, attack speed isn't bad here, but level of melee skill and crit damage bonus are going to give you very big damage. This, on top of getting a Quarterstaff that has at least a half decent amount of DPS, is huge. I would say at least 350 DPS, and then getting plus 5, 6, 7, and then crit damage bonus is going to be your best bet. Now, the element or physical or element on your Quarterstaff is really not that important because Flicker Strike does not care what element you use or whether it's physical. It just uses the damage on your Quarterstaff, whatever's there, and applies it to the damage. Now, Storm Wave typically converts a portion of your physical into lightning, but this does not matter. You can use any element, any physical, anything here. It can be a crackling, it could be anything. It does not matter. But I do like to have, personally, I would have preferred instead of fire, I would have liked cold or lightning. One of those would have been better. All right, so on the weapon set 2, I am rocking a Rattling Scepter, like I said, that we need, and you're going to want to get Increased Spirit, and if you can also get it, level of minion skill would be nice here. The higher the level, of course, the more tanky that your minions are going to be. And the Spirit is so that we have enough Spirit for your swap. On the focus, of course, this is the Effigy of Cruelty focus. This is allowing us to apply critical weakness with critical hits with our spells, so this is mandatory, of course, to get the critical weakness on Eye of Winter. So yeah. All right, on the gloves, I would recommend that you, at minimum, get the plus level of melee skill and try to get some flat damages. This is going to increase your DPS big time. If you can get crit damage bonus or attack speed too, this is also nice. Make sure you're filling out your resistances. Make sure you're filling out your attributes. Extra mana is nice. And I do rock EVES because I do want my evasion rating to be as high as possible. You could also go pure evasion gauntlets here if you have enough energy shield. On the body armor, you want your body armor to be pure energy shield and as much of it as you can possibly get. The more energy shield that you have on your body armor, the more spirit that you're going to have. So I've gone with one that has resistances and then attributes. Make sure you're filling those out. Boots, I've gone pure evasion because I want my evasion rating to be high. I've gone with mana, attributes, and resistances here. Make sure you're filling those out, and at minimum, get movement speed. On the helmet, you do want a pure energy shield helmet due to subterfuge mask. You're going to want to get critical hit chance here at the bare minimum. I do like getting mana to increase my mana pool, and of course fill out your attribute and resistances. Now for the rings, I do recommend that you have at least one unset ring. If you can rock 2 unset rings, then you won't have to swap any of your skill gems out. You can just run around with all the skill gems that you needed. But my second ring is so fat that I'm not getting rid of it unless I find an insane unset ring. But corrupt rings are insanely like slept on. You can get increased damage, increased crit damage bonus, skill speed, all those type of things on there. But mine, I would recommend going for flat damage, percent damage, mana, attributes, and of course your resistances. Make sure you're filling those things out on both rings, and like I said, at minimum, get you an unset so that way you don't have to do as many swaps. On the amulet, I am rocking a crimson. I would rather this be like a jade or a lapis because that would give me extra dex and extra int. A stellar's fine. This implicit 2.8 life regen is a complete waste, but otherwise on the amulet, the most important things are going to be plus level melee skill, critical damage bonus, increased evasion, and increased maximum energy shield. The increased to evasion and energy shield are huge for your defenses. You can see that I'm at 4,800, 67%. 4,200, 60%. So make sure you're getting that on your amulets. The plus level melee skill and the crit damage bonus, you can see I'm at 117. Boom, 88. So level melee skill and crit damage bonus are huge. Make sure you're getting your attributes. Make sure you're getting your resistances. I am allocating with Storm Charged, as the Storm Charged anoint is the best one for us here. As for the mapping convenience for crit hit chance and the increased elemental damage, it's just better overall, and it's better energy generation for cast on crits to have that extra crit hit chance. I'm running Ingenuity because it's going to increase the bonuses from our rings. I do have a corrupt one with resistances on the top, so that way I can help myself out a bit more for getting my resistances filled out. I do recommend that you have at least 2 charms. If you can have 3, that's perfect, because I do like using a stun to help me from getting stun locked, freeze to help me from getting froze locked, and then if I could, I would either run like the gold one for extra rarity or run a slow charm or any of those unique charms. Anything like that would be fine. And then for your flask, the only thing to note is that on your mana flask, do not use one with recover 15%, remove 15% of life from mana recovered, because since we have 1 HP, this will instant kill us when we pop our flask. And then on the other flask, just get you a really nice amount recovered. Applied instantly is nice. Gain amount of charges per second is also nice. So yeah, now that I've explained the gear, let's go ahead and get into the passive tree and jewels. All right, so here we are on the passive tree, and what I'm going to do, since we are using weapon set points, I'm going to swap over the path of building, as the colors on here are much easier to see. So for the ascendancy, we're going to be rocking Lead Me Through Grace. This is going to give you all that extra spirit. Now it is good to note that with Lead Me Through Grace, you do not gain spirit from plus spirit on your actual gear. It's fully based on the either energy shield or evasion on your body armor. We're going to rock Sunder My Enemies, as this is going to ignore enemy elemental resistances whenever we critically hit. This is huge because we don't have to build into any sort of elemental penetration nodes, and we do crit so frequently that this is almost always proccing. Now, like I said, if you do want to do the big giant, 75, 100 mil damage hits, or maybe you just need a little bit of extra damage, you are going to need to rock Unbound Avatar. I do go the path for I Am the Thunder, as you are going to get Magnitude of Shock, and the extra damage is lightning damage. But if you don't want to rock this, I would either recommend doing I Am the Blizzard for the extra damage increase, or going for the Soul Springs Eternal to give you a 35% energy gain increase on your cast on crit. Alright, so now let's break down the tree. So, of course, you're going to want to go the route to grab these crit damage bonus nodes, and you're going to route down this way. I like to get the movement speed node here and the extra stats, because we do need those dex and int attributes to fill out every bit of the requirements that we need. Make sure you grab all connections for the crit nodes here, and then double back and get the skill speed nodes. Don't get the extra one right there. We're going to loop up this way, and we're going to grab the crit node right here and put this on weapon set 1. We're going to grab only these 2, don't grab this one right here, and then we're going to do the Power Within for the extra power charge and the crit damage bonus, and this will also increase the duration of our power charges. Now, from this point on, we are going to throw all of these skills on weapon set 2. This is our Scepter and our Focus. And you want to get these nodes for the revive time, so that way your minions will revive faster. And then I do this node because it does give us a chance to not consume corpses when consuming them. And then I'm going to come down this way and grab these energy shield nodes and evasion nodes right here. I grabbed this one right here for the increased move speed while we have energy shield, which is all the time. And eventually I will spec to get immaterial here for the extra evasion rating. You come down this way, make sure you only grab these two, don't grab all three, and then get the center one for the extra power charge and a 5% chance to gain maximum of our power charges whenever we gain one. You also get increased energy shield whenever you consume your power charges. We're going to put these nodes on weapon set 1. These are nice for attack damage and then chance to blind enemies on hit. And then we're just going to grab Subterfuge Mask, as this is going to give us +2 evasion rating per 1 maximum energy shield on our helmet. You can see this is giving me a total of 17% extra evasion. As we come out this way, we're going to grab all of these nodes right here. We want the attack speed and the strength, and then we're always on full life with CI, so this is a perma 30% damage increase. Put these nodes on weapon set 2, as the cast speed is nice for Eye of Winter and our Profane Ritual. For the first jewel, I am running a From Nothing Diamond that is going to make it that our passives and radius of Zealot's Oath can be allocated without being connected. So all the way out here, here's Zealot's Oath. We're able to pick any of these nodes in radius, but we want the Sharpened Claw, Tough Claw, and Swift Claw for the extra attack damage. You can see just how big those damage increases are for me. After that, we're going to shoot up this way to make sure that we grab these crit nodes. Make sure you put all of these on weapon set 1 and make sure to get this top node. The bottom node is crit hit chance. The top node is increased damage if we dealt a crit hit recently. So make sure you get that and then get Deadly Force. As we come out this way, once you switch to Chaos Inoculation, you do need to be picking Eternal Youth, as this will make your Life Flask useful again, because with 1 HP, what is a Life Flask for? This makes your Life Flask heal your energy shield. We're going to come down this way and grab all these nodes right here to get the +2 to maximum power charges. We also get 20% increased crit damage bonus if we consume power charge recently. Put all of these crit nodes on weapon set 1. Put all of these quarterstaff nodes on weapon set 1. And I mean every single one, especially these down here. These are huge increases. And then we have my next jewel, which is a Megalomaniac. Now, these next 2 jewels are completely up to you. If you need 2% mana on kill, run 2% mana on kill. If you need energy shield, run energy shield. Anything you want to run here. But I have decided to spend the money and get a Megalomaniac. And what is good on mine particularly is that I get first approach, which is going to make our crit hit chance on full life targets go up and our damage on full life targets go up. And this is huge for Flicker Strike. And then besides that, I have Invocated Efficiency, which is going to recover 3% of my mana whenever I invoke a spell. That is whenever my cast on crit procs. So super nice to have. Otherwise, I'm going to grab these crit nodes. I go this way to get the crit damage bonus, as this is a bigger damage increase for me. And go and route this way. Make sure you get this one, because that 15% increase is better than that 10% increase. All right, then coming up this way, I'm going to grab these nodes on weapon set 1. We're going to grab Chaos Inoculation to make us immune to chaos damage and bleeding, and then this will also set our max life to 1. This is why we have to have such high energy shield. And then make sure to get these stun and element threshold nodes, because this is going to prevent you, or at least help you, from being stun locked all the time. So this will increase your stun threshold based off your energy shield and your element threshold based off your energy shield. This will help you not get frozen, ignited, shocked, everything, stun like a ton more. And then for my next jewel, this one is very expensive, but I had the currency to spend and I really wanted to, hit 100 million. And I have a +2 level of all Flicker Strike skill. The +3 was like 70 div. I did not have 70 div. This one right here, I think I spent 17 div on. And then you can see it is a 2.1 million full DPS increase for me. Otherwise, run what you can get here. It can be anything else that you want, but I spent the money on this. This is what I wanted. Coming up this way on weapon set 2, we're going to grab the reduced skill effect duration nodes. This will decrease the time on our Profane Rituals. And then I'm just going to grab the Ingenuity for the 25 int and Patient Barrier for the massive increased energy shield. So yeah, that is it for the skill tree. Now I'm going to go ahead and get into a mapping, bossing, and Pinnacle bossing demo. All right, so here is the map. Here's a T15. Here's the map. Let's go. All right, so here I am in map. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be generating some power charges first. So we're going to start killing some stuff, get some power charges. I'm going to pop my charge staff. Give me some more charges. And once I have a sufficient amount, we are good to go to Flicker, which you can see is going to teleport you everywhere and kill a whole bunch of stuff for you. So if you absolutely need to, you can use your Profane Ritual. But typically the Storm Wave and the Flicker itself will sustain you well enough, but just make sure to flicker on, you know, big packs and groups of enemies that you can, because the bigger the pack size, the more enemies that there are, the bigger the explosions, and of course the more jumps that you'll do, and the more satisfying the flicker will be. But that is really all that there is to the mapping. If there's a really tough rare, I will use Eye of Winter on it or something, like if it just happens to be like lightning resistant or something, I don't know. I will do that, but yeah, that is it for the mapping. Let's go ahead and get into a map boss setup and a Pinnacle boss setup. All right, so here are the map boss, and I'm going to show you exactly what you're supposed to do right before the map boss fight. So you can see I have my sacrifice. I'm going to swap my weapon set. I'm going to use my Profane Ritual on them until I have enough power charges for my charge staff. I shall pop my charge staff, swap back, get my charges, and then I can walk into the boss arena. And what I can do is, since I have to wait for her animation, I could refresh my power charge duration by doing this. And I'm going to Eye of Winter, Unbound, and then Flicker. So Eye of Winter, Unbound, and Flicker, and she is dead. And that is it for map bosses. You don't have to worry about doing any like funky like gem swaps anymore or anything like that. They're gonna die super quick. And let's say like you mess up your rotation or anything, you could always just pull your minions back out, get your power charges back up, and give it another go. So yeah, now time for a Pinnacle boss demo. All right, now for the Pinnacle boss. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Infernal Cry, and I'm going to grab my boots, and I do have a pair of gloves that I swap, but you guys don't have to do that. And I'm going to bring them in with me, so that way I don't lose my Unbound Avatar energy, because once you leave the instance, it'll reset your Unbound Avatar energy. So yeah, let's go ahead and drop this Breachstone in, and we will kill this boss. All right, so here I am at Zesht, and now I'm going to show you what swaps I do. So I'll throw on these boots for the extra damage. I'm going to take Primal off of Herald of Thunder and swap it with Hit and Run for the extra damage on there. I'm then going to take off my Herald of Thunder and throw in my Infernal Cry. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure all my buttons are bound exactly how they need to be. And I'm going to get my power charges. So here, I'm going to click and get all my power charges that I need. Boom. I'm gonna pop my charge staff. I'm going to get the rest of my power charges, and we will walk in and start the fight. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to Warcry, I'm gonna Warcry twice, Unbound Avatar, Eye of Winter, then Flicker. Alright, so Warcry twice, Unbound Avatar, Eye of Winter him, and he dies from a Flicker. Like it ain't nothing. So that is it for the Pinnacle boss rotation. Really simple, and let's see if we get us some HOAs here. Or Control Metamorphosis. And no. Alright. And yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Make sure you guys go check out the rating guide in the description, and come stop by my Twitch if you want to see me playtest these builds live. But I appreciate you guys watching at this point if you have, and hope to see you in the next one. Y'all take care.
I don't know why, but I'm randomly craving a hot dog right now. With, like,
What did he say?